few months ago, something happened that I haven't been able to stop thinking about. It wasn't dramatic, nobody's life was in danger. There wasn't some huge movie like moment. I was sitting alone in a coffee shop. No working, no reading, just staring out the window. You know those days where your body is present but your mind is somewhere else? That was me. I had 100 thoughts running through my head. Questions about the future, whether I was doing enough, whether I was wasting time, whether I was actually becoming the person I wanted to be. I think we've all had days like that anyway. There was a bench in my neighborhood that nobody ever used. It wasn't broken, it wasn't dirty, it wasn't even hidden. It just sat there. Every morning I walk past it. People walk around it, joggers past it. Parents push strollers right by it. Kids passed around without looking. It became invisible, not because it disappeared, but because everyone got used to seeing it. One afternoon, I decided to sit there. I don't know why, maybe I was tired. Maybe I just wanted a few minutes without my phone. So I sat down. At first, nothing happened. Cars drove by, people kept walking, the world kept moving, then something strange happened. Because I had stopped moving, I started noticing things I'd never seen before. Across the street, there was a florist. I'd walked past that shop hundreds of times. But I never noticed that every morning before opening the doors, the owner picked up one flower and placed it outside. Not to sell, just to make people smile. Most people walk right past it. A little later, a man in a suit rushed by. He looked stressed, coffee in one hand, phone in the other, then he noticed the flower. He stopped, smiled for maybe 2 seconds, then kept walking. Those 2 seconds changed his entire face. Nobody else noticed, but I did. About 20 minutes later, an elderly woman arrived with a bag of bird seeds. She scattered a handful around the trees. Without seconds, birds appeared from everywhere. She laughed, actually laughed like a child. Then she stood there watching them eat. No audience, no camera. No reason other than the fact that it made her happy. She left without taking a single picture. That stuck with me. How many beautiful moments have we stopped experiencing just because we are too busy documenting them? Then school finished. Children filled the sidewalk. One little boy tripped. His backpack flew open. Books everywhere before his mother could even react. 3 other kids stopped to help him. None of them laughed, none of them made fun of him. They simply picked everything up. Then they all ran off together like nothing had happened. It lasted less than 30 seconds. Nobody applauded, nobody posted online. Nobody called it inspiring. It was just kindness, quiet kindness, the kind of really becomes viral. As the sun started to set, I realized something. I spent almost an entire hour sitting on the bench that everyone ignored. And somehow, it became one of the most meaningful hours I had in months. Not because something extraordinary happened, because ordinary life finally had my full attention. It made me wonder, how much of our lives are we missing because we are always rushing to the next thing? The next goal, the next notification, the next weekend, the next relationship, the next version of ourselves. We are always arriving somewhere, but are we ever really here? I think about that bench a lot now, especially on difficult days, because I realized the bench wasn't invisible. Our attention was. We move so fast through life that we stop seeing it. We stop noticing the people around us, the little acts of kindness, the sunsets, the conversations, the laughter, the tiny moments that quietly make life worth living. We are waiting for something extraordinary to happen, while extraordinary things happen every single day. They are just wearing ordinary clothes. Now, whenever life feels overwhelming, I do something that probably sounds a little strange. I sit, not always on the same bench, Sometimes it's a park, sometimes it's outside a coffee. And I watch without headphones, without scrolling, without trying to fill every second with noise. You'd be amazed what you notice when you stop trying to escape the present. A father teaching his daughter to ride a bike, someone holding the door for a stranger, a couple laughing so hard they forget everyone else exists, a dog so excited to see its owner that it almost knocks them over. Life keeps whispering beautiful things to us. We are just listening to our phones instead. Maybe that's why so many of us feel disconnected. Not because life has become less meaningful, but because we've become less present. We are consuming more moments than we are actually living. And that's a dangerous trait because one day you'll realize something. The moments you'll miss today, you can never scroll back to tomorrow. So here's something I hope you'll try. No tomorrow, no next week. Today, put your phone away for 10 minutes. Go outside, sit somewhere. Don't plan anything. The world hasn't become cold. People haven't stopped caring. Beauty hasn't disappeared. It's been there all along, waiting for someone to slow down enough to notice it. Maybe that's what happiness really is. Not finding a perfect life, but finally paying attention to the one you already have. And maybe the next time you walk past something you've seen 100 times, you'll stop. Because sometimes the most important moments of our lives aren't hidden, they are simply overlooked. But surrounding me in a coffee, the kind of place where everyone seems busy, but nobody is really talking. Some people had laptops open, others were scrolling through their phones. A couple sat across each other without saying a word, both looking down at their screens. The sound of the coffee machine filled the room, and for a moment I remembered that bench. It was strange. Nothing extraordinary was happening in the coffee, but after that afternoon on the bench, I couldn't stop noticing the little things. A barista remembered a customer's name before he even ordered. A woman quietly moved her bag off the chair beside her so a stranger would have somewhere to sit. A little girl proudly carried two hot chocolates to her parents, concentrating so hard that her tongue was sticking out. When she finally reached the table without spilling a drop, her parents cheered just like she'd just won a championship. She laughed so loudly that half the coffee smiled with her. For a few seconds, everyone forgot wherever had been occupying their minds. And I realized something. These moments happen every single day, not once a year, not only on holidays, every day. They're just too quiet to compete with everything that's fighting for our attention. I wrapped my hands around my coffee and looked out the window. People were rushing past just like they always do. Maybe one of them had just received good news. Maybe another was on the way to say goodbye to someone they loved. Maybe someone was walking home after the worst day of their life. You never really know what story someone is carrying. That's why kindness matters so much. Sometimes the smallest gesture become the brightest part of someone else's day. And the beautiful thing is, you'll probably never know when it happens. As I finished my coffee, I thought about how often I've been waiting for life to feel meaningful, as if meaning only existed in the big moments. The promotion, the dream house, the perfect relationship, the destination. But maybe life never was asking me to taste bigger moments. Maybe it was asking me to become more present in the ordinary ones. Because when I looked back at the memories, that meant the most to me. None of them happened because everything was perfect. They happened because for once I was fully there. No rush, no distraction, no countdown to the next thing. Just one ordinary moment that became unforgettable because I actually lived it. Before leaving the coffee, I put my phone back in my pocket. Not because phones are bad, but because I didn't want to miss the walk home. I wanted to hear the city, to notice the people, to look at the sky instead of another screen. And as I stepped outside, I caught myself doing something I hadn't done in a long time. I wasn't thinking about tomorrow. I wasn't replaying yesterday. For the first time in a while, I was exactly where my feet were. And somehow that felt like enough.